saying Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala ashraf al-mursaleen, Muhammad bin Abdullah wa ala alihi wa radiyallahu an khulafaihi wa ashabihi. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Dear sons, dear students, today we deal with a new topic, figurative language, connected with what? With an example of a poetry, a poem by a poet. The poem is I Died for Beauty by Emily Dickinson. But before dealing with the poem, with analysis, with discussion, we need to understand some important figurative language or glossary or literary terms. I remember that we had such glossary at the beginning in the first sessions. We have shed light on the most important glossary or literary terms dealing with poetry, particularly poetry, and now some important glossary or figures of speech, necessary to repeat them for the benefit of better understanding. So we have overstatement, we have understatement, also we have irony, paradox, and the next one, the fifth element today is metaphor, or particularly extended metaphor. So we need to understand what is the meaning of overstatement, understatement, irony, what does it mean, what is the meaning of paradox, and again metaphor and extended metaphor. So as you notice with me on the picture, overstatement, okay, has some synonyms to express the meaning, okay, like exaggeration, extravagance, okay, hyperbole, okay, magnification, and amplification, and others. It means that exaggeration, showing something more than should be, hyperbole, pun, okay? If we speak about them in details with little explanation, we move to the next page, mentioning that these three, particularly the three, overstatement, understatement, and irony. So what are they? The answer is they construct an uninterpreted series. They are what? They are connected together. They are related to each other. Four, they comprise, in that order, overstatement, understatement, and irony. Expressing more, referring to overstatement. Expressing more, exaggeration, hyperbole. Expressing less means understatement. You say something, but it is not sufficient. Less than should be. Sometimes words are enough to express sentences or paragraphs. And expressing the opposite of what a person certainly means is what we call irony, as well as paradox. Irony is the opposite of what a person certainly means. Look to the definition of understatement in this picture. Understatement is an understatement is making something appear smaller or less important than it is in reality, or it actually is. Okay, so it is paradoxical that someone is able to emphasize a truth, to show reality, to express clearlessness, either by means of exaggeration, exaggerating it, or by means of understating, showing less, expressing less than should be. One word, two words are enough. Okay, this is what we call understatement. So, but also in poetry, particularly in poetry, generally in literature. So, if you say understatement sometimes can be degrading or negatively satirizing. Okay. So, understatement or expressing less than someone intended. Instead of explaining a line in a paragraph, a verse line in paragraphs, you just make it concise or brief. So that might occur, might happen in what a critic can say and in what manner one speaks it. Sometimes the poet composes a poem, and in this poem, one verse line. This verse line, so it is what? Very short. Can be expressed, can be commented on, can be assessed or criticized by a critic or critics in what? In paragraphs, negatively or positively, with overstatement or with understatement, showing irony and also with paradox. For example, if upon setting down a loaded plate in a banquet, this is an example, a concrete example to help you understanding the meaning of overstatement, understatement, irony, and paradox. What happens in this banquet? Somebody might say, it appears, but it is not real, it appears like a nice bite. Dealing about what? About the banquet, about the session, about the atmosphere around it. A nice bite. In fact, this person, the speaker, in fact, stating beneath the truth. However, if he is saying that a person who keeps his feet for 10 minutes in a lighted fire, you know fire? Yeah. Lighted fire is about to undergo a feeling of extreme and horrible heat. Can you bear it? Can you be putting your feet, okay, on lighted fire? Difficult. In this case, he states that what is literally right, but with a great deal of beneath that situation justifies. Dealing with what? With connotation. Wait, yeah, Faisal, until we finish, because it is recorded, then your questions will be answered. After we finish recording the session, I will give you time to speak. I hope that only the sound or the voice is clear. This is what I need. Okay? Nice. So paradox, gentlemen, okay, is an ostensible contradiction that is all the same somehow proper. The same somehow proper. Like what? Here what we have of examples. War is peace. Is it real? No. It is paradoxically said. War is peace. Freedom is slavery. Freedom is slavery. Is it true? Of course, no. But we can get freedom from slavery. I mean, this, yeah, within hidden meaning can be understood. Ignorance is strength. Of course, no, it is not. For what? For the ostensible, the clear, the surface meaning. Contradiction. Ostensible, contradiction. Here what we have, in the direct meaning, it is wrong. But after realizing the hidden meaning, it is correct. At the beginning, it is impossible. After realizing its hidden meaning, connotative meaning, it is possible. from illogicality into logic, from illogic to being what? Logic. What can we say about the first one? War is peace. الحرب يكون هو السلام. الحرب هو السلام. Is it possible? No. But if we need to understand it perfectly, we can imagine that if there are problems, if there are difficulties in a society, what can we guess? It is a matter of guess. Sometimes it can be accepted, sometimes it is not accepted. You can say, someone can say that through war, peace will be settled. Or we cannot find peace without war. If the situation is unstable, little conflict, little quiet, little conflict, little quiet. So there should be something to cut this conflict forever, once and for all. Okay, so what we need, according to the idea, war. So war is peace. After war comes peace. Here's the idea. The same with freedom is slavery. If there are slavery, there is freedom. How? People who are slaves, they think of freedom and they seek freedom and they aspire, they desire to get freedom. So it is connected together. Those who are free, they think of freedom with great value, and comparing with slavery, that they should not get to a situation to be slaves. Ignorance is strength. From the first meaning, it is wrong. But if you think about it, not think in it, think about it. Think about its hidden meaning. You can find what we call little correctness, little acceptedness in it. Ignorance is strength. If you show that you are a learner, by working, you make mistakes. From what? From your learning. This is natural. Making mistakes, making you what? Making you weak. Blamed here and here. You work, you make a mistake, then you are what? You are blamed by others. Weak, becomes weak. But you cannot work. You are ignorant. You are not working. You do not think. You are not making mistakes. So people looking at you, that you are what? You are strong. I think the idea is clear. Okay? So here are what? Some examples, concrete examples to help you understand the meaning of paradox in a good way. Look, now let's read and analyze what should be. A paradox is an ostensible contradiction that is all the same somehow proper. Seems to be what? To be improper at the beginning, but after realizing, after understanding, it can be what? Proper. As a figure of speech, it could be either a condition or a statement. In such a way, it is a statement, which the poet Alexander Pope, we know Alexander Pope, the Augustan age poet of the 18th century, composed that a literary critic during his period could damn with feigned praise. Yeah, it is what we call the opposite of what we expect. If a person is damned with feigned praise, it is the greatness of the poet to use in contradiction. Here is what we have: contradiction between damnation and praise. It is contradiction, in which he used a verbal paradox. Yeah, verbal paradox, showing astonishingly the possibility of a man to be damned by praise. You know, that's what you call balloon, the plastic rubber balloon. If you are just blowing in it with air, blowing, like breathing. What will happen? Flowing after flowing, and it is increasing, it is getting larger. It will what? It will explode. So a man to be damned by praising. Yeah. ما زاد عن حده انقلب ضده. You understand the idea? The opposite is okay. If you are praising extra than should be, it will be what sort of damnation, as Alexander Pope says. The opposite, if you are criticizing negatively the person, he can be damned also. The same. Okay? Negative or extreme right, extreme left, like al-ifrat wal-tafrit wal-ghulu. Ifrat or ghulu, as we understand in our Islamic tradition here. Al-ghulu wal-ifrat wal-tafrit, they are what? They are damned. Going here to the right extreme or going here to the extreme left. Readers need to understand entirely the conditions and situations involved when using a paradox, how to use it as we understand its meaning. Saying something and we mean something else, or indirectly. We have to realize that what can be seen at first unbearable, it is unbearable, impossible, is essentially reasonable. After what? After thinking about its meaning. And not strange. At the beginning, it is strange when you say, as we mentioned in this one, okay, war is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength. What can we say? So it is what? At the beginning, it is what? Unbearable. It is strange. But after realizing the wisdom inside it, we can say that it is what? Reasonable. It is what we have of paradox. Moreover, the paradox used by Pope is not odd, is not strange when readers of his poetry realize that damn is being applied figuratively. Yes, it is figuratively. When you say excited, excitement, exciting, excitement, it can be positive, it can be negative. It can be happiness, it can be fear. Hope means simply that a too reserved applause, so it is applause, praise, okay, admiration, but it is what? It is extra. May the measure poet. Yes, blowing inside the balloon with the air strongly, until what? Until it is damaged. So may the measure poet with public virtually as much as contrary criticism, exactly as with contrary, the opposite, either right or left, extreme right or extreme left, can what? Can show negative aspects. In a paradoxical declaration, the contradiction typically seems from one of the expressions used allegorically, figuratively, or in a more than a meaning. With what? With connotation. With connotation. The significance of paradox, the importance of paradox is shown in its shock importance. Yes? Thinking about it, you don't expect it. The shock, unexpected. At the beginning, you say it is impossible, but after realizing, it is what? Reasonable. So it's ostensible in practicality, shook the reader with what? With attention. You have to stop, you have to think, you have to realize, then judge. By the fact of its seeming illogicality at the beginning, underscores the veracity or accuracy or even the truth of what is being spoken. You have to what? Wait, contemplate, then decide. Don't say, when I ask you, and I did that before, when I ask you, 1 + 1 equals, all of you will say 2. But someone will say 1. 1 plus 1 is 1. Is it reasonable? No. Is it logical? No. But if you think about it, you can find it true. You can find it accepted. And this one is what? A philosophical matter. Still, we have extended metaphor, but this extended metaphor is dealing directly with what? With the poem I Died for Beauty by Emily Dickinson. Now, before going to extended metaphor, we need to go to the poet or poetess, Emily Dickinson, reading about her and getting directly or indirectly about I Died for Beauty. From that, we go to the extended metaphor. So, Emily Dickinson was born in 1830 in Massachusetts to a young barrister, Edward and Emily Norcross. Emily had an elder brother, William, and a younger sister, Lavinia. Her father was a successful politician who was recognized for being energetic in society, an active person in the society. Active person in the society. A small amount is known about Lady Dickinson. However, various relatives agree that she engaged a lot of education, and this is important for us. This is important. Love of education for most of her life, principally in the sciences, all sciences. The poet Emily Dickinson was a teen student, again, because she loves studying, she loves learning. She's a keen student. She is keen, and she grasped the chance to join college while she was still at the academy, in which she certainly thrived or succeeded. Along with Emerson, Milton, Thoreau, she involved the writings of Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, Charles Darwin, Robert and Elizabeth Barrett Browning, Emily and Charlotte Brownett, George Eliot, Matthew Arnold, and Nathaniel Hawthorne. All of these, what we call literary figures, famous literary figures, American or British. Okay. She used to deal in her writing about them, with them, about them and with them. Okay. Emily Dickinson corresponded with some editors such as Josiah Holland and Samuel Powells, and with figures like Minister Charles Wadsworth and Thomas W. Higginson, in which the later, so Thomas W. Higginson, in which the later, or this one, Higginson, acted as a literary mentor to Emily Dickinson, supporter and helper, editor, reviser. As these friends of Dickinson started to marry and began their own life, yes, after marriage, the sort of meeting is what is less than previously. Dickinson investigated deeper into her own books. She is what? Meeting them less than previously. Although college specialists regarded Dickinson as hopeless, some teachers, they say that she is hopeless because of what? They think that she is not working hard in their studies. She had a convincing sagacity of herself, cleverness as an intellectual young lady. She has skillfulness, masterfulness. It was perhaps because some of her autonomous religious interpretations flew in the aspects of a dominant Calvinist Puritanism. She left the college after just a year of learning to leave unanswered question, why? Whatever the purpose, she went back to her parents' house to start her relaxed withdrawal from society, to live alone for the majority of her time, inside her home, inside her room. Emily Dickinson stayed at home and mainly in her room in Amherst, okay, of methods, and found the material for her poem both without and within. Give it a chance. She is given a chance, a great chance for her what? For her writing of poetry. And mainly in her home, in her room, in her room, what to do? The person, if he's alone, just thinking, so either to get crazy or to produce, to be what? To be philosopher. Okay. She commonly stayed adjacent to home, but amused her companies and continued a few close associations. Not exactly 100% alone in her room. Also, there are what? Close friends and family. She then had little concern in the family works. She was satisfied to follow her own benefits, her own interests. For example, writing and horticulture. Writing, so we know writing is what? Letters and poems. Horticulture means taking care of what? Of plants, cultivation of plants. Emily Dickinson composed a huge number of poems. This page is of great importance because now we are dealing with what? With the production of the person. We have some ideas about her life, her growing, but that's okay. It is not that great importance. What is very important for us is when we deal with what? With the literary concepts, literary ideas, and literary production, the person's production in literature. So she composed more than 1,700 poems in almost 10 years. What can we say? Every day a poem? Here we understand it. That is between the years 1850s and 1865. But by the passage of time, she began to have solemn difficulties with her eyesight, to read shocking losses during the last 15 years, to pass away in 1886. Emily Dickinson published few of her poems during her life. From 1,700 poems, she published few, can be numerous poems only during her life. But the other poems, the rest of the poems, were published after what? After her death, and left almost 2,000 poems in various groupings. She published about 7 poems in her period. She asked Lavinia to burn her writings. Lavinia is her sister, as we mentioned before, because she thinks that it is rubbish and doesn't deserve. So she requested her sister to burn her writings. Lavinia, according to Emily's wish, smashed the private letters. Those letters, I mean, these letters can be what? Can be literary collections, but kept the poems. So it was a great, what we call, luck for Emily, that her sister Lavinia kept the poems, not for the purpose of helping Emily Dickinson. She died. She is not now living, but for the purpose of humanity, the purpose of the literary career of her. Lavinia pursued posthumous publishing for Dickinson's poetic collections. So the publication became but after the death of Emily Dickinson. Emily Dickinson's famous poem, I Died for Beauty. Now we are starting to be closer from our main target. I Died for Beauty was first published by Thomas Wentworth Dickinson, as we mentioned, the editor or the Hilda of Emily in the Christian Union on the 15th of September 1890, with the little he gave of two kinsmen. The first collection of poetry for Dickinson was published to great praise in 1890. And we remember that she died in 1886 after 4 years of her death. After 4 years of her death. Now, the poem, I Died for Beauty, is among the several popular poems that were probably written in 1862. It was in 1862, a year in which she wrote a poem every day. As I said, we have how many poems? 1,700 poems in 10 years. So almost she used to write one at this, I mean an average, not exactly, but guessing, an average of 1 or 2 poems a day. Remarkably, it was printed 11 times in different editions for just 2 years. What is it? I Died for Beauty, our poem under study. In some early edited volumes, there was an unusual style that was aggressively edited by several critics. When we say aggressively, here we have what we call paradox, or even understatement, or overstatement, even with irony, connected with irony, by several critics, to make the poem more accessible. The more attacked, the more to make it strong. The more attacking, the more making the poem or the poet stronger. Still, later publication showed the poem in its unique style. It is different than others, than before and than following, with the innovative punctuation. Nonetheless, or however, as stated by this critic, Wolosky, he says, one of the most striking features of Dickens' verse is its lack of punctuation, because she used to what? To have a sort of innovative punctuation, scattered lines, but not thinking about the, what you call, rearrangement orders of words, thinking mostly about what? About the communication, about the deep meaning, about reading between the lines, not only reading the lines. She omits commas, semicolons, periods, sometimes for what? For the, what you call, not for grammar, but for critical purposes, In there, seated, she introduces dashes. As we will see, we didn't find full stops or commas or semicolons. We find what? We find dash, like this one, dash or dashes at the end of that lines. For her purpose, of course, there should be purposes. Emily Dickinson is one of the foremost compendious American poets, studied at essentially every scholastic level. We spoke about that she is a loving person for education. She loved education, loved sciences. So what? Studied at essentially every scholastic level, because she is talented, especially connected with what? Or related to education and learning. Her writing is a continuing subject of exploration and investigation documents by literary scholars. She left us volumes of existing poetry, and what you call, the favor is to her sister Lavinia, not to her. She wanted to destroy, to smash, to burn all her works, poetry, poems, and letters. But it is, as we say, it's the luck that her sister Lavinia left the poem and started to help publishing them. left us volumes of existing poetry, scholarly books, biographies, and collections of letters. Those collections of letters, the ones remaining after the what you call burning letters by her sister, because of what? Because of the will, because of the desire of Emily. Emily made no mention of her own letters or her figurative letters to the world, which it was the luck, yes, as we mentioned, or fate of Lavinia to discover. So the help came from what? From Lavinia. She is located, I mean, the poet, along with the giants of American poets. She's a giant poet, like Walt Whitman and Robert Frost. And we spoke about Robert Frost in the previous session. You remember him, okay, when we read the very interesting poem, okay, The Road Not Taken. You remember it? You should revise it. Many critics proclaim that Dickinson is the principal female voice in the chest of American poetry. In the chest, in the middle, in the center. So elegantly define a poem saying, if I read a poem, and we spoke about that at the beginning, classes or sessions, when we dealing with the value of poetry, dealing the definition of poetry. If I read a book and it makes me so cold, no fire can ever warm me, I know that is poetry. Because what a definition of poetry by Emily Dickinson. It is really interesting, but it is somehow not clear. It needs to be to be paraphrased, explained. How can poetry make everybody so cold? Poetry should be the opposite, not shivering, but warm, getting warm. Emily Dickinson is reported to have said, in the spirits of Earl of Worcester, if I fail physically as if the top of my head were taken off, I know that is poetry. Again, yes, it is strange words, but really funny to express what the inner meaning of poetry. The poem, I Died for Beauty, copes very openly with subjects of beauty and reality. We should not forget that. Beauty and reality. I died for beauty. So beauty and reality, how can we connect these things together? Dickinson represents them as a parallel in different ways. Parallel in different ways. How can we see parallel in different ways? Here we have what we call paradox about. They are signified by somebody who accepted to die for them. What are them? What are they? Beauty and reality. They are buried in the same burial chamber, close from each other. What are they? Beauty and reality. Understand that perfectly after reading the poem in the coming session, inshallah. They pass away. What pass away? What are they? Beauty and reality who pass away at the same time. Beauty and reality, both names are concealed by identical moss. The identical moss, and moss is what we call tohlub, available in water, that is green. Additionally, the figures themselves experience an immediate union when they, beauty and reality, all learn why the counterpart died. For what? For the other. The death is for the other. The poem creates a strong and overt proclamation that beauty and reality are associates and relatives. Further, the two distinguish one another as kinder moods. Correlation, intercorrelation. There is what we call interaction between them. and this interaction is correlated, as T.S. Eliot mentioned, in tradition and individual talents. The lines in all stanzas follow a regular, respectively, design of iambic tetrameter. I mean, this one should be repeated when we deal about the style, about the composing, about the making of the poem, about the structure of the poem. But here we get it as an introduction also to increase our mind with what? With the tetrameter followed by iambic trimeter. Then once more iambic tetrameter and again iambic trimeter. Here is the design, the making of the poem, the composing, the arrangement of selected words, the brisk iambic meter of Dickinson's verse, hard to imitate in the language of translation, good replaced with a dictile-based rhythm. And this is connected with verse. This paragraph is totally connected with what? With verse. You have to revise it. Good replaced with a dictile-based rhythm, resulting in a much slower pace. It, referring to the poem, can be opined that, no, it is not connected to the poem, but according to, it can be opined that poetry in general and Dickinson's in particular has acquired new receptivity and developed new metrical forms. Okay, poetry in general and Dickinson's in particular has acquired new perceptivity and developed new metrical forms. She is amazing. This closeness of style and organization, organizing the words, selecting words, arranging them, reflects the education of Dickinson at Amherst Academy and her capability to tell a tale and create her remarks with what? With these limitations. Even we say limitations, but we mean limitations in writing of the lines. But in understanding the meaning, it is great. It is not a flow, but greatness. Composing in such a way requires a precise ability to model lines and employ an economy of words, and she did. She succeeded in that. The poem, from a reader's perspective, like you, like me, has a natural and relaxed feel that makes the lyric more manageable, like what we call three verse, not restricted to regular rhythm or rhyme. Poetry is marked by being free in the modern age. Very interesting idea we can realize here. Poetry is marked by being free in the modern age. So, the regular rhythm gives the reader the freedom, yes, free verse, the freedom to focus on the plot and the subtleties of the metaphors rather than tripping up in unusual patterns. Okay, gentlemen. I think it is enough to stop here and to continue the next session بإذن ta'ala with the extended metaphor, and that is analyzing the poem I Died for Beauty after revising it, reading it, listening to it several times, enjoying the very beautiful sound of this poem. Okay, I think the understanding will be much, much better. Okay, gentlemen, gentle sons, gentle students. Now, recording will be stopped. If you have a question, okay, ready to share, to discuss, and answer you. Until then, we can say Subhanallah bihamdi, Subhanallah al-Azim, Astaghfirullah min kulli dhanbin azim. See you in the next session. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.